Breaking. A live television clash has erupted, and the internet simply can't look away. In less than a minute, broadcaster Holmes turned what should have been a straightforward interview into viral gold. No warm-up, no preamble. He went straight for impact. In the first 60 seconds of speaking to Labor Minister Darren Jones, Holmes snapped, "I'm fed up, and I'm not taking this anymore. This wasn't an interview, it was a public dismantling, and social media has it on repeat. Here's precisely what occurred. It's budget day. Chancellor Rachel Reeves is getting ready to present her autumn budget in Parliament. GB News booked Darren Jones, the Treasury's number 2, for what should have been a routine pre-budget segment. Polite questions, predictable talking points, business as usual. But Holmes wasn't interested in business as usual. If you're tired of politicians dodging basic questions with rehearsed phrases, then this exchange is a must-watch. Holmes opens with a simple, fair question. How are you viewing the budget? And what are you hoping it will achieve? Normally, this would be a gift for politicians falling over themselves to recite lines about a stronger economy or a better Britain. Instead, Jones immediately deflects, "Well, I can't reveal what the Chancellor has put in the budget." Holmes cuts him off immediately. "No, I didn't ask you that." There's no mistaking the frustration in his voice. After 40 years of political interviews, you can hear a man reaching his breaking point with scripted avoidance. Holmes didn't ask for the contents of the budget. He asked for an opinion, nothing confidential, nothing sensitive. But Jones hit the usual political escape hatch, and Holmes had had enough. Then came the moment that went viral. "I'm fed up with the leaked stories coming from your side about what's in the budget. The Chancellor put a YouTube video out last night telling us more and more. And then you sit here and say, you can't speculate. Nobody asked you to. I didn't ask you, and you're telling us anyway. It's been leaked, 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 leaked. 5 leaks in a row, each landing harder than the last. Because Holmes wasn't just calling out Darren Jones, he was calling out the whole charade of budget secrecy. Here's how it works. Weeks before any budget, ministers and their advisors leak key policies to journalists. Newspapers get briefings. Ideas are floated. Reactions are tested. Narratives are shaped. Everyone in Westminster knows this. Then they appear on television pretending they can't comment. It's confidential. I can't say a word. It isn't confidentiality. It's theater. And Holmes refused to play along. Jones tries to salvage things, conceding there have been a couple of leaks that were unacceptable. A couple? For days. The entire budget has been systematically revealed. Fuel duty decisions, the sugar tax extension, national insurance changes, non-dumb reforms, capital gains tweaks. At this stage, Rachel Reeves could just email the whole thing, and most of Britain wouldn't be surprised. Jones tries to blame media speculation. Technically true, but misleading. That speculation comes from government briefing, controlled leaking. And for once, someone called it out live. You can't leak to journalists and then clutch your pearls when they report it. But the escalation wasn't over. Next, Holmes' co-host, Ellie Costello, dropped a live TV bombshell. Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are now the most unpopular Prime Minister and Chancellor on record. Yes, on record. Costello's framing is a political earthquake. Starmer and Reeves now poll worse than Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng, the duo whose catastrophic mini-budget tanked the markets, sent mortgage rates soaring, forced the Bank of England to intervene, and wiped out a government in just 49 days. That was the previous low bar. Yet somehow, Starmer and Reeves have managed to slip even lower. Remember, Labour swept into power with a 174-seat landslide barely 6 months ago, one of the biggest majorities in modern political history. They hold more parliamentary power than any government in decades. Yet, after all that political dominance, they've already crashed into record-breaking unpopularity. Not just bad, but historically catastrophic. Then Costello goes further. She brings up a rumor now circulating through Labour's own ranks, whisperings about potentially ousting both Starmer and Reeves. And she asks the question every political journalist dreams of asking but rarely dares to say on air. Do you have full confidence in them on budget day? It's ruthlessly devastating. If Jones hesitates 1 second, the headlines write themselves. Treasury Minister refuses to back Prime Minister. So Jones laughs nervously and insists, of course, that he has full confidence. But the power of the moment isn't in his answer, it's in the question itself. That's 6 months after a landslide election. A senior minister should be asked if his leaders are already facing removal. That's not normal. That's a government sliding toward crisis. Jones is desperately attempting to steady the ship. He says, repeatedly, that Starmer and Reeves are absolutely committed to implementing change, which in political speak means, please stop asking whether the leadership is collapsing. But then, pivots, and this is where the interview truly detonates. The topic, the new sugar tax. Health Secretary Wes Streeting has announced that packaged sugary drinks, energy drinks, bottled coffees, supermarket sodas are about to be hit with a new tax. The official justification is familiar. Public health, obesity, NHS pressure. Jones dutifully repeats the script. This is mainly a health measure to address chronic diseases. Snaps. It's not a health measure. It's not a health measure. His voice rises, his frustration unmistakable. And the brutal part? He's right. Because the government isn't taxing sugar, it's taxing where the sugar is purchased. Walk into Starbucks and order a venti caramel frappuccino bursting with more sugar than a can of Coke, and you pay no extra tax. Buy the nearly identical bottled version from Tesco, suddenly you're paying more. Same sugar, same calories, same health impact, same contribution to obesity. The only difference is the building you bought it in. So how can the government claim this is about public health? You tax all high sugar drinks if the objective is health. If revenue is the goal, then say so. This selectivity does indeed make the government either look incompetent or dishonest, probably both, really. The cynic would have the most straightforward explanation. Supermarket products are easy to tax. Thousands of individually prepared cafe drinks, much harder. Therefore, the government preferred the administratively easiest route and slapped a label on it, a health initiative, hoping people would not question it. Unfortunately for them, Eamon Holmes questioned it, and he ripped through the contradiction live on air. Taxing cafes requires a wholly different enforcement system. Instead of doing the hard work, the government reached for the easy option and wrapped it in public health branding. And Eamon called it out without hesitation. Confronted with this contradiction, Jones had nothing but a perfectly polished word salad to offer. Yes, chronic diseases are a burden on people, the NHS, and the economy. No one is disputing that. And yes, improving the healthiness of manufactured foods matters, but listen closely to what he didn't answer. Why do bottled drinks get taxed, but beverages from cafes don't? He had no answer, because no answer exists that makes sense. Now, for a second, zoom out. The interview is not about one awkward question or about one flawed tax policy. It's a window into a much deeper problem. The massive disconnect between how politicians think they should communicate and what the public actually wants from them. Darren Jones walked into that studio with a classic Westminster toolkit. Recite pre-tested lines about the budget being fair and balanced. Repeat phrases like tough decisions and investing in public services. Use circumscription and jargon to avoid answering questions directly. Survive the interview without creating headlines. This is the old political script, robotic, predictable, and painfully familiar. But then he ran headfirst into something he wasn't prepared for, a broadcaster who refused to play along. Eamon Holmes didn't want theater. He didn't want spin. He didn't want to hear hollow talking points polished by party strategists. He wanted answers. The same answers ordinary people expect when they ask a simple, direct question. And when he didn't get them, he did something rare. He called it out candidly, bluntly, exactly the way millions of viewers wish they could. This moment hit so hard because for once, someone finally said out loud what everyone else has been thinking. Budget leaks? Nothing new. Hypocrisy in a sugar tax? Not surprising. Politicians dodging questions? That's practically the national sport at this point. But a seasoned broadcaster refusing to let it slide, refusing to politely move on, that is unusual. And that's why the clip exploded across social media. People weren't surprised. They were confirmed. At last, the nonsense was contested. Not tolerated it, not broadcast it, called it out. This interview is a masterclass in rejecting political waffle. A reminder, when politicians show up armed with deflection and memorized scripts, the strongest response isn't softer questioning, it's to expose the game they're playing. Eamon Holmes broke the fourth wall. He gave voice to what viewers are yelling at their screens. This is nonsense. We all know it's nonsense.